Okay, now we come to this, the chapter 4, the Buddhist community of the same book, The Foundation of Buddhism, written by the Rupert Gethin. Okay, and well, I mean, after we have discussed, I mean, about I kind of little background, and then about the Buddha as well as the teachings, right? And then the teachings, definitely the teachings about, and then the teachings are many, but then the main focus of the teaching are Four Noble Truths. I think we have some understanding of what is a Four Noble Truths is about, okay? And also we also understand what is the Tripitaka is about, because when you say about the teachings, and then we know that we have a canon, the Buddhist canon. So the Buddhist canons have, you know, traditionally we understand the canon as the Tripitaka, meaning the three baskets, okay? And now we come to the community, then also that's something to do with what we call the community as well, you know, the Sangha, okay? So and then we must understand how this early Buddhism understand the Sangha. Actually, even to understand the Sangha nowadays might a little bit change, and even particularly in a certain country like in Japan, for example, okay? But we have to, you know, when you learn Buddhism, then you still have to know during the Buddha's time how the Buddha, or even the earlier Buddhist time, so how the Buddhism understand the Sangha is about, okay? All right, so today we hope that we can finish by, you know, basically who are these people who are followers of the origin of the Buddhist Sangha, and then some understanding of what ordination is about as being the Sangha. And then also, then when they be a Sangha, what they have to follow, you know, what we call the Vinaya, okay, the monastic codes, okay. And then also actually even when being a Sangha, so what kind of life being a Sangha is about, even though you have to follow the monastic rules, the codes, but then what kind of life you are supposed to be, or idealistic of how they are and what's happening, you know. And then and what's the relationship between the lay Sangha or the lay community and then the monastic Sangha or monastic community, okay. All right, so we just, why don't we just begin to read, and on the page 85, okay. So the Buddhist community, monks, nuns, and the lay followers. I mean, in other words, when you say community, we generally understand that means there are four kind of them. That means that the monks community, the female, or the monastic, you know, ordained nuns community, and then also the lay woman and the layman community. Okay. So usually when you say a so-called healthy community, or the so-called, what we call healthy mean a complete community, so I mean you have comprises of four kind of persons. Okay. All right, let's just, maybe you can start here. The Buddha's followers and the origin of the Buddhist order. Okay.
As we saw in chapter 1, Buddhism grew out of the ancient Indian renaissance tradition. The Buddha's own teachers were such renaissance as were those to whom he first addressed his teaching, thus presenting a system of training and practice geared to erudition of greed, aversion, and delusion at the roots cause of suffering. The Buddha's teaching suggests that the ideal basis of the training is the way of life followed by the Buddha himself, the life of homeless, mendicant wanderer. In short, the life of Buddhist monk,
bhikshu
and bhikkhu, or nuns,
bhikshuni.
Indeed, while the earliest texts allow that one may achieve full awakening and arhatship without the first formally becoming a monk, all tradition argue that in such a case of invisibly either join the Buddhist order or die the same way.
The same day.
The same day. Yeah.
The same day. Okay. All right. I guess we read the next paragraph and we can have a discussion about that first. Okay. Thank you. Maybe the next. I think it's easier if you go this way. Yeah.
The basis of the renouncer's lifestyle lies in two things. One, renunciation of the household life for the sake of the religious life. And two, dependence upon the generosity of the population at large for the provision of the material needs, food, clothing, and the dwellings. The success of early Buddhism thus assumes both a desire on the part of certain members of the population to give up normal society or the household life, and sufficient goodwill on the part of those remaining in normal society to allow them to do so. The followers of a teacher such as the Buddha thus fell into two socially distinct categories: homeless wanderers and lay supporters. Buddhist texts talk of the four assemblies.
Parikshad.
Parsa of monks, non-male lay fellows, female lay fellows.
Okay, right. Just any question, any comment on the first paragraph or second paragraph? No. Anyway, I think firstly we have to emphasize, this how we have these so-called renouncers. You have to understand that definitely because Buddhism grew up out of the ancient India. In India, actually, before even Buddhism came along, there are people also thinking if they want to devote themselves, fully in religious life, they have to be renounced or homeless. They renounce a home as a family, and they have to join only religious group as a homeless kind of life, right? But we must understand the homeless doesn't mean that in American the way homeless mean, Here, they have to, abandon their so-called family kind of value of living, but then to join another kind of living, and which is you don't married, you don't really actually have a family. In a way, when you say family, I mean like you need to support your children, have them, then you just only devote yourself completely in a spiritual life. And then that's the first thing. And then, of course, this example is not just laid out by the Buddha, that the Buddha didn't do it. Actually, the Buddha did it. He set an example to do that already. That's very important. Like, for example, like in the Catholic, they have argument whether the Catholic priest has to be really not to marry or not. Because when some argue that actually Jesus, not necessarily laid out the rule that everyone had, when you already completely devote yourself into religious life, then you had to be celibacy, stay in celibacy. But then, of course, this is not my subject, but then there's a debate between that. But some say actually Jesus, did that, and some say actually Jesus has a son too. But anyway, there are so many other stories, so we never know what's the truth about that. But it's never clear. But for sure is that they also say when Catholic came along in earlier time, actually the priest, when they become a Catholic priest, you have to understand in the society in those days, and now they call it Turkey, or Catholic came along because of Constantinople king, and when they established that kind of kingdom in Turkey. So in the land, you could say Anatolia, I think it's in those days called Anatolia. So, and it's, but then, like Judaism, the Jewish people definitely, they definitely, the priests, so-called priests, they will have a family life. So anyway, this is not our subject. Some argue that in Catholic, in the earlier time, the priests, they were not married. They married. They could marry. I don't know what is true or not. There's lots of debate over there in the history. But the difference is that we have to understand when you learn Buddhism. So this kind of story, you cannot just learn it like, for example, in America, you have a lot of people arguing that, we can marry now because we are in America, So, or because of their in the history in America, the religions, like when they are Protestant, Actually, one of the Protestants, I think lots of people want to be a Protestant priest rather than a Catholic priest is because they could marry, they could have family, you know. Actually, they could have everything, and then they also can be a preacher, you know, something like that. But of course, some people say it's a good thing, some people say it's not a good thing. This is lots of different opinions. But I mean, we have to, when you learn Buddhism, you know, back to how the Buddhism came. And the Buddhism firstly came from India, and then you could say that during that time, the Indian is a land that allow people to have a celibacy. You know, if you want to devote your life into religious life, you definitely believe that if you have family, it will corrupt you too. In other words, you know, it will corrupt you because you have family. Of course, you always think about your family, and that's actually something what Buddhism also encourage. When you have family, of course, your priority is your family, you know, right? But when you're in the real religious life, and then your priority is on religion, you know, are completely like faithful to the truth, you know. So, and then and the other thing that we need to understand, the paragraph want to say, even the Buddha also, you know, did the same thing. It's not like he have a family and then he say, okay, those who follow me, then you couldn't have a family, not like that. Okay, so that is one other thing. But one other thing, I thought you might have a question, but you don't, which I thing is that, and is there's a kind of tradition where you believe in that the earliest texts allow that one may achieve the full awakening and arahantship. You know, in early Buddhism, it's believed that except you were born in a time without the Buddha was not there, or there's no Dharma exist. Otherwise, even though you achieve the highest attainment as what we call a complete cut of the this hatred, the three poison, the hatred, complete cut of the hatred, the delusion, as well as the desire, right? So you can only reach the Arahant. You can never be a Buddha, you know, because Buddha, in the early Buddhism the Buddha has to be the founder of the religion and of the Buddhism per se. And also it has to be appear when the Buddha can only appear when the Dharma does not exist, you know, right? So when the Dharma still exists, even though you may attain the same thing as the Buddha, but you call as an Arahant, okay? Now here one interesting thing is about, in the earlier texts, say that, you know, that when someone, even a layperson, he could, of course a layperson can attend the stream enter, the once returner, the non-returner. Anyone know what I'm talking about? No. Anyway, just thinking about when someone you practice, you know, the following the Buddhist teachings, and you could reach to a state, become a saint, you know. If you're a Catholic background, you might know what the meaning of saint. But it's very, the Buddhist understand of saint is very different. In other words, mean you really know what is the teachings already, and you will never fall back. Like, not because of people telling you, not because you meet something like in your life, unfortunately, and then you start to change your faith, you know, or not because of something happened, you start to doubt, you know, what your practice is about. So, and then more important is that because you through your practice, you are able to eradicate, you put away some of the problem. For example, then you will never like shaking your faith on the teachings, you know, because you will never have this kind. You have a very firm understanding of the teaching, so that you will not shake your mind whatever people telling you. Okay, so and the other thing is that that's what we call, you have the faith to the Buddha, you have the faith to the Dharma, you have the faith to the Sangha, the community. In other words, you totally understand what the community means. And the fourth one is also you also put away a certain kind of idea about what a physical body and what a mental body is about. You know, you have at least a good enough idea what are they. You know, so what else? And then of course you also, because of that reason, you become like a first level of sainthood, right? Usually, I use it to call it a level. So we have the name for that. The first level of sainthood is called the Sotapanna. Okay. When you learn Buddhism, you have to learn all these. Some of the terms are very commonly used, especially when you read the Buddhist text. Sotapanna means usually we translate stream enterer. Okay, because it's believed that once people, when they come to practice up to that point, they could cut off a certain defilements and certain understanding comes along with that person, or what we call the wisdom arises to that person, and he will just become a stream enter. Because when he be a stream enter, just like somebody in the stream, even though it may take a long time, but one day he will reach to the sea. So not like a so-called a normal folk. If you are normal folk, Buddhajana in original language, so that you sometime okay, sometimes not okay, but because you are not on the stream yet, right? So that's why called stream enter. And people, if they still keep on practicing, understanding the teaching, then they will reach to the second state of Zenhood. Second state of Zenhood we call as once returner. Why it's called once returner? It's believed that when that person, even he did not attain the arahantship, or just like a Buddha, even within this life, but he would only will the karma itself, the law itself, the cosmic law itself, somehow will let the person to be attain arahantship. Only, in other words, he would only just reborn once, then he would definitely reach arahantship, you know. And someone is called non-returner. It's called anagami in original language. Literal translation is called non-returner. Why is called non-returner? Because he attained. Of course, he has attained the first one, stream enterer, and then he could proceed to the second one, so-called the once returner, and then he attained the third one called the non-returner. And this kind of people usually the temperament is very good. No desire happen with that person. Definitely there's no sexual desire with that person and no anger with that person. It's very slight. In other words, you never see the person anger. If there's any something happening in their mind, just little unpleasure sensation. So, but they are still, according to the Buddhist understanding of the Zenhood, that person is not fully Zen yet. But what we call it as a non-returner is because when he cut off all these defilements, he still have very little pride there, what we call manas, the pride. But usually this kind of pride is not he think that he's higher than other or lower than the other as a pride. But in Buddhism understanding, pride means higher than other, that you think you are better than other or you're lower than other. He doesn't have those pride. But he have the pride only thinking that everyone is equal. That is also a pride in Buddhism. It's very subtle. Okay, he has to get rid of that too.
Also the pride that
everyone is equal, same. Yeah, yeah, still very subtle. Okay, anyway, this is very, very advanced. So, I mean, anyway, that's, you know, during the Buddha's time, that's everyone's aim for. I know to become a stream enter is not a big deal in some way, especially for monks in the history, you know. But of course, to be arahant is really hard, you know. That the little part. Anyway, why it's called a non-returner is because when he will die within this life, without reaching the arahantship, you know, and he won't be reborn again. He won't be reborn here again. He will be reborn in a place what we call pure boat. Okay, I forgot the original. So in other words, mean that place that in the pure boat is like a kind of, you could describe it as like a heavenly life, but very quiet. So, but when the time he was just about to pass away in the pure boat, then he'll become arahant. Okay. So that's why I say non-returner, because he will only have one life reborn, and then at least before he passes away, he will become arahant. Okay. Now the thing it is, now as a lay person, if they become an arahant, so now that's mean the perfect person according to Buddhist idealism. Okay, or like a Buddha. But if on that same day, if it couldn't formally become a monk, and then he will inevitably have to be died on the very same day, right? And that definitely have a little debate about that. So, well, this is whatever some people, of course, saying that, oh, okay, this is later come in. Because why? It's because the monastic members want to show that, you know, lay people cannot be arahant, so you have to be a monk, you know, or be a nun, you know. That's why you only like that. So, and definitely, and there was, because when you look at the text, look like Agama, looks like we couldn't find any sources have this support. But traditionally, or many places later on, have this kind of saying. But of course, we also must accept, you know, the Agama not necessarily include everything too. But of course, if the Agama definitely mentioned that, nobody will question it because that's what the Buddha said it, right? But now the Agama didn't mention, but the whole long tradition have this one saying. But whatever, and here this is not our research. I mean, that's why when you learn Buddhism, you may have a research later on. You want to research, say, a layperson can be Arahant or not? I know, yes, you can be Arahant, there's no question. The only thing is, even if you can be Arahant, according to tradition way of understanding, that one day you have to be renounced as a monk. If you don't renounce as a monk or nun, no, sorry, I couldn't just say monk. Even woman can be Arahant. So either you become Arahant as a woman or a man, but the very same day you need to renounce as a monk or as a nun, right? Otherwise, you have to be you have to die on the very same day, and. I don't know why you don't have this question. I always have that question in the past. Okay, now I will just, that's the reason why in our notes, can you print the notes just today? I got this note, do you have a page 1 and page 2?
Page 1 and page 2.
Yeah. So on the notes here, it's from, the notes actually is from the Milinda, what called the Milinda questions. Actually, this is one of the texts. I definitely, for people who want to read some Buddhism, they feel very bored to read long thing and very difficult. And then I would suggest you read Milinda question. Okay, in Chinese it's called 翻译是闽南托完问经. Okay, but it's belong to Pali, but you have to in Chinese as well translate. In Chinese it translates as 那先比丘问经. Okay, so okay. Anyway, because this first the one who asked the question was a king, or you could say the region, depending on how to translate. And then after Alexander conquered the East, the king actually. Anyway, then they need people who rule those areas, right? So King Milinda, this you have a historical research. If you go to a library, not library, sorry, museum, you could see the coin of the King Milinda. So you will find there was the head of the King Milinda, the coin as a golden coin, and the other side is they will put this the Dharma Jaka, mean the Falun, the wheel. I mean. Definitely he is a Buddhist, but he's a Greek person, okay? And the story basically is this king, he's very, very educated. And then he also believed to be a king has to be really well read and well learned. So of course he have a background maybe as a Greek, so he knows philosophy very well, as a Greek philosophy you could say. So he went to many places, so-called, during he was a king. So he went to meet many different kind of people, asking different questions. Nobody can debate him. Really can give him a very good answer. Nobody can really talk to him very well. So even he claimed that he said this is India. Indian is no any wise people. Like that. You could say he was very arrogant also in some way. Somehow anyway, he met the Arahant called Nagasena. So. And this is actually the text, it's their dialogue, between the dialogue. And imagine that, of course you could say something is maybe put it later, but whatever is it. But definitely when the people arrange this text, they definitely think that whoever have any question about Buddhism, they put it here. So I can guarantee you almost whatever question you have, you almost can find it here, okay? And it's very interesting, it's just on a dialogue. He asking a question and he answer, okay? And he like to use simile, because the simile thing sometimes give the some, and it's a very some people find very satisfactory. Depends on how you like it, All right. So then this question also raised by this king. Okay. Anyone want to read the third person? Maybe you go here, right? We're reading the Milinda questions, page 80. On the chapter 2 of the on the chapter 3, the second division called "If a Householder Attend Arahantship." Okay. Yes.
Revered Nagasena.
Nagasena.
You say there are two forms, not another. for a householder who has attained arahantship, either that very day he goes forth into homelessness, or he attains final nibbana. That day is not able to pass without one or other of these events taking place. If revered Nagasena, he obtained neither a teacher nor a preceptor, nor a ball and robe on that day. Could that arahat go forth of himself, or could he let the day pass? Or if some other arahat or psychic power arrived, could he let him go forth, or would he attain final nibbana?
Okay, can you next one read another one?
An arahant, sire, cannot go forth of himself. On going forth of oneself, one falls into theft, nor could he let the day pass. Whether another arahant arrived or not, he would attain final nibbana that very day.
Okay, can you continue reading?
Sure. Well then, revered Nagasena, the peaceful state of arahantship is given up if the life of him who attains it in this manner is carried away.
You can just read a little bit, yeah.
Unequal, sire, are the attributes of a householder. The attributes being unequal, it is owing to the weakness of his attributes that a householder who has attained arahantship either goes forth or attains final nibbana on that very day. This is not a defect in arahantship, sire. This is a defect in the householder's attributes, namely the weakness of the attributes. It is, sire, as the food that guards the lifespan and protects the life of all beings, yet carries away the life of him whose stomach is out of order and who has a sluggish and weak digestion because it is not properly digested. This, sire, is not a defect in the food. This is a defect in the stomach, namely a weakness in the feet.
Okay, thank you. And next one? Yeah. Next one? Yeah.
Even so, sir, the attributes being unequal is owing to the weakness of its attributes that a householder who has attained arahantship either goes forward or attains final nibbana on that very day. This is not a defect in the arahantship, sir. This is a defect in the householder attribute, namely the weakness of his attribute. O sire, as a heavy stone may be put on top of a small stalk of grass, which in its weakness is broken and collapses. Even so, sir, the householder who has attained arahantship but being unable to sustain arahantship because of that attribute of weakness, either goes forward or attains final nibbana on that very day.
All right, thank you. The next one. Yeah.
Or sire, as a man who is feeble and weak, of lowly birth and of little merit, comes to naught and to ruin the moment he has acquired a great and mighty kingdom, falters and is unable to sustain the authority. Even so, sire, the householder who has attained arahantship is unable to sustain arahantship because of that attribute of weakness, and for that reason he either goes forth or attains final nibbana on that very day.
Okay, the last one.
It is good, revered Nagasena, so it is, therefore do I accept it.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do you have any question? No?
I don't understand the first paragraph on 81.
Okay. What is that?
Going forth of oneself when forced into steps.
No, sorry, which paragraph you're reading?
The first paragraph in 81.
Okay.
Why is it he falls into steps? I don't understand.
I see. I mean, no, I mean, of course, this still, here they put a note here also on the 2, right? I mean, I don't know, but it just generally believe that, you know, when you're, there were two claiming. One may be saying that he wanted, because unfortunately this text, Milinda Bangha, doesn't have a commentary. We don't have a commentary, so we don't really know. In this, and then Milinda Quest, we don't have a commentary. But I mean, some suspect it would just mean anyway. It means like, you know, when, you know, you had to expel from, if the fact here, the word, you know, taiyang mean, you know, abajadi means actually you committed in stealing something. I don't know. So, I mean, still there's a discussion. Why is it, you know? Some say maybe possibly has something to do with, you know, I don't know, but I don't know what it is linked to that. They say, you know, you can also fall into a wrong way because you don't have the attainment, but you told people you have the attainment. So it's some seems like it become a strong understanding that when you are in the you cannot be a arahant if you are not a monk or nun, you know. So it in other words mean you are not a monk and nun, and then now you're arahant. So mean you are actually stealing something from that which is not belong to you. That's the reason why it's then.
From the monks, or
it's nature of the monk, or nature of the essence of the monk, or essence of the being a nun. You know, kind of like that. I mean, this definitely is a very old language, right? It's just kind of like something like that. But however, I think Nagarjuna is very clever. He also do not want to put that much on that issue. Rather, he want to tell you that, you know, don't put the fault on arahantship, but rather it's just the nature of kind of nature of a layperson and the nature of arahantship. So that's why the next of all the simile was saying that even though it is traditionally understand that a layperson, if they attend the arahant, though he has to be immediately ordained, either ordained as a monk or either ordained as a nun, otherwise he have to be dying the very same day. But that kind of nature, that kind of essence, what they call the nature here. That's why I look at all this. You can see I have put all the Pali word because I want to make sure what the original Pali word is about. So, and actually, this kind of the nature is basically this kind of nature is it's just a nature is like that. You know, just like that's why I use a simile of tree or a simile, right? The first one is about the food. When the people cannot digest a good food, it's nothing wrong with the food. It's only because digestion system, you know, have something wrong. Here, of course, I say that the weakness in this heat. Those are all day of the medicine, you know. And the second is about the other nature is about, and they have nothing wrong with the arahantship, because otherwise people blame them. What's wrong with the arahantship? Why the lay people when they attend, it has to be, you know. Either the lay person have two choices only, right? Why they only have two choices only? So the other is that, you know, there's a nature that when you put a heavy stone on a glass, of course the glass will be fall down, you know. Because you could say the arahantship is much more powerful, you know, like a stone. And the glass as a lay people, that kind of nature has a household life, still, you know, cannot hold that kind of such a strong being an arahant, you know, like a stone. And third one is kind of somebody who become a king or become the ruler of the country, but he doesn't have that good qualification. So of course then he will be pulled out, you know, because his qualification is not good enough like that. You know. Yes?
But that person still achieved the Nibbana.
Yes.
So, but he also achieved to be an Arahant. But just he's dead, he cannot be those Arahants still alive.
Yeah.
That's only different.
Yeah, only different. If he want to be alive, he definitely must have
to be monk.
Might be a monk or nuns at the very same day. Yeah. Okay, at least we know something about that. It doesn't mean that this is not our main topic over here, but we bring about this thing because it's also, I think the Rupert way, Rupert Gethin, Professor Rupert Gethin put it here, I guess is somehow to say, to be in a Buddhist order, like become a monk or nuns or and such a thing, and maybe even still traditionally just say, even say a lay people, even he could become a Zen as a first level Zenhood, second level, third level. But even if at the moment he attend arahantship, he still had to be join the order. It's a kind of you could say. I mean, there's a lot of definitely for sure. According to the Buddhism, also understand the bodhisattva even. According even Mahayana Sam, though even if you are being a bodhisattva, you want to really good in the practice, you have to renounce the life too. Definitely, the time that you become a Buddha, you definitely have to renounce. You cannot be as a household life and become a Buddha. So, okay. And because that quality of the Buddha, a hood, or the quality of arahantship, as a household life can never able to sustain it. Okay. So that at least is a Buddhist understanding. Okay. Okay. So then that why we have to talk about community now, right? Somehow. Right. Now, the other thing is that a basic of renunciation lifestyle, lies in the two things, One is that renunciation of the household life for the sake of religious life, of course. The second, dependent upon the generosity of the population at large for the provision of material needs. So, I mean, the Buddhist idealistic of the renunciation is many in two things. So it's of course that you have to renounce a family life, so that you will be only completely focused on your religious life. And the second is that you don't like you don't do business, kind of like that. So and then you think, okay, I must have myself sustain. So actually, your sustain the life, your shelter, your food, everything has to base on the lay person. The people who support you. Those are your clothes, your food, and the dwelling. You have to base on them to support you. You have to depend upon them. So, any other question? No. Okay. So, but when you look at even the Buddha, also like that. For example, imagine that if the Buddha say, okay, I'm a Buddha now, so I can be self-sustained in such a way, like I can ask my father, to make a Buddha kingdom, what I'm saying? You know what I mean by that? So, and then we can raise a war, be a Buddha kingdom, and then to conquer other people and let the people study Buddhism. He could do that, right? Whether he succeed or not is another question. So, but even look at this example of the Buddha, he was like, at least he come from a prince. He was a prince, right? At least he had a kingdom there, but he didn't even. He have to base on everybody, either the rich people or poor people, giving them the food, shelter, and that. Well, one other reason to do that, I don't know whether the book have discussed, I cannot remember, but I just let you know, even when you become a monk, I know that you have to understand why you have to be based on that, because you actually become a monk and nuns, not just because for your own welfare, because you're on a religious purpose. You have to accept the donation from others because you have to give them the opportunity to grow the marriage. Get it now? You let them to have the opportunity to grow marriage. Of course, it's also tradition belief that the better practice you are, they grow better marriage. So that's why it's also a way to encourage you to work better. So that they are funding, they are helping. It's actually become. It's much powerful than when they were doing this kind of generosity, Okay, that's how, when you be a monk, that's how traditional, I don't know how the other Chinese traditions say, but definitely in original way saying, why you be a monk is you must have religious purpose, study, do your meditation, be good on your practice, and because when you're better in that practices, not because you can teach them better. That is one not. Of course, that's definitely is clear, but it's because then when the people offer you the thing, they will get better merit also. So it's like that. So, all right. If no any discussion, we can just move on, and then we can discuss a little bit more later, even also on the page 86. Okay. Buddhists have then always understood the Buddha's message. Okay.
Buddhists have then always understood the Buddha's message not only as an invitation to give up household life and join the Buddhist group of monks, but also an invitation to the wider community to support the religious life. The Buddhist understanding of the nature of the lifestyle of one young fourth sees the Buddhist monastic community as a significant part of society as a whole. Thus, when the Buddha is reported shortly after his awakening and instructing his growing group of newly awakened monastic followers to set off, never to by the same way, to teach Dharma that is lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end, for the benefit and happiness of the many, out of sympathy for the world, for the good benefit and happiness of God, of gods and men. This represents more than simply a recruitment drive for the Sangha or the order of monks and nuns. The presence of Buddhist monks and nuns within a society has been seen as in itself a positive good and of benefit for all. Let us turn now to consider the members of the assemblies of the monks and nuns.
Okay, next one. Okay, do you want to read?
The procedures governing ordination, along with the rule governing life as a Buddhist monk or nun, are set out in the Vinaya.
Yeah.
The division of Buddhist scriptures devoted to monastic discipline. As we saw in chapter 2, a number of different versions of this survive from ancient times. Only 3 are in actual use today. In Sri Lanka and in Southeast Asia, monks, in principle, follow the rule of the Pali,
Theravada Vinaya.
In East Asia, China, Korea, and Japan monks follow the rule of ancient
Dhammadipa.
Vinaya, translated into Chinese from an Indian original in the 5th century. In Tibet and Mongolia, monks follow the rule of the
Mula Salavastivada.
a branch of the
Salavastivada.
translated into Tibetan in the 9th century. The Vinayas fall into 2 basic parts: a set of rules governing the life of the individual monk or nun, known as the Pratimoksha, and regulation concerning the communal ceremonies and corporate acts of the Sangha. An act that is confirmed after having been formally proposed before a chapter of the Sangha, either just once or 3 times, depending on the type of proposal, beginning with admission to the order. While there is considerable variation in the details of the surviving Vinaya, there is a fundamental agreement in the structure and core content.
Okay, all right. Any comment? Any comment or questions?
So is Vinaya like different for? So Vinaya is different for different schools too, just like Abhidhamma.
No, not like Abhidhamma. Vinaya actually, like now you could see there are 3 of them here at least mentioned, but there are more than that. But like you see, there's a Theravada, it's Theravada Vinaya. You could say the Pali Vinaya because in Pali language, and then you have the Dhammadipa Vinaya, which actually is in Chinese usually because when they ordain, they use the version of Vinaya called 四分律. And the 四分律actually, if you look at the Buddhism, okay, and then it's called. But actually, the Vinaya, I mean, there's a long research because actually even this 四分律 was like belong to the Dhammadipa. Dhammadipa in Chinese called 法藏部. Okay, so in the Dhammadipa's earlier, but then later on actually they don't use Dhammadipa that much. They use other, but then in a certain time, maybe during the before Tang dynastic, so they want to uniformize the Vinaya text so into this Sifanui. Okay, so in other words, nowadays Chinese people, when they ordain the Vinaya, they use this school, and the Tibetan they use the same one as in the Chinese, belong to other school called Mula Salavasti, the Vinaya. But if we compare the Vinaya content, they're almost the same. But sometimes they add maybe a few more. For example, like in the Pali, we have 227 rules for monk, but in the Sifanui, this Dhammaguptaka one, they have 249. And those extra mostly are related to how you should worship the stupa, the ta. And not the worship like how you should respect the stupa. But those things, none of them mentioned in the Pali Vinaya or the Theravada Vinaya. Otherwise, the list is almost the same. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's unlike Abhidhamma. The system can be quite different. Or any other questions? And comment what you read. You have any ideas? No? Oh?
I did have one sort of general question that came up while reading this, and I was wondering whether Buddhism had anything to say about, so if the relationship between the monk community and the lay community, if the monks are successful in helping the lay community, eventually the lay community, is it, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, does Buddhism say anything about whether or not ultimately all beings eventually reach Nirvana?
Yeah, I mean, that's because potentially everybody can reach Nirvana, right? But it's just only when you've been at least in the early way of understanding. So, when you've been in the community as monks and nuns, or you could say the monastic community, so you have a higher chances to attain Nirvana because providing in those times, I would say there are many reasons. One reason is that all intention is wanted to attain Nirvana. But being a lay person, the intention is looking after your family. That's how actually, I mean, although nowadays people get confused sometimes, but it's very clear in the Buddhist kind of ethical understanding why you still have a family, because you definitely have to look after your wife very well and your children very well and so forth. But then you still, if without religious life, then you still have half of the life. So the other half you need to really support the religious, or you don't have to be. If you aim to be a Nirvana, then you definitely have to not completely focus your life on your family, right? Then you definitely have to, especially given in old days that it's not like nowadays you can read the books by yourself, and those days you need to learn under the teachers. So as a layperson, you don't have that privilege to learn a lot under the teachers, right? So I mean, but still. Otherwise, if you don't believe that the layperson can attain Nirvana or have the potential, then we won't discuss about when he attend the Arahant, right? He has to be, he can be the Sotapanna, like string maintenance, once returner, a non-returner. Those are very advanced already, very, very advanced. But only when you attend Arahant, unfortunately, that's why there's a little debate over this issue. Only when you attend the perfect, like a Buddha, so he has to renounce. So. Otherwise, he had to choose to be like, bye-bye. Yes. Okay.
You mentioned that there's very little differences between the traditions, but I know, for example, like the Theravadan tradition, they can't handle money like directly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And there's no farming either.
Yeah.
And then whereas like the Chinese tradition, can do a lot of those things. So, just trying to understand, what do you mean? Is it a difference in interpretation?
If you have time, but I don't know whether you're allowed to do that. In Chinese, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, anyway. If you can do the compare study between the Pali Vinaya and then the Chinese Vinaya, they're exactly the same as I say. But comparatively, if you count the number, actually Chinese is more than the Pali. In other words, they have more strict than the Pali because they have more rules than the Pali. But the thing it is, In other words, mean not touching money, not holding the gold and silver thing. In those days, didn't say money, that's gold and silver, because that's more precious thing that you don't keep it. And of course, we also, I think we did learn it before, you were not here, that then there were the debate. But the debate is about during the first, why we have the second, so-called the second council, Buddhist council, gathered together to revive about a thing. But in those days, actually, they will not really revive the text, but they revive the Vinaya, okay, the monastic codes. And that's about how you understand not having the gold and the silver. And one argued that the liberal one saying that we have the gold and silver because we want to build a temple, and there was gold and silver, of course, were donated by the lay people. So I'm not possessing it. It all belongs to the community. So, and the conservative still do not agree, because even though you could say your purpose for that, but you're still having it, it means you're still possessing it. You are still possessing it. There's no way you can attain Arahant. You know, attain Arahant, you don't have anything at all. So whatever. So that's how we have a second council. There was many on the Vinaya. Okay. Now the Chinese now they don't do that. It has to do with the Chinese culture, or you could say to China, and then later on the Chinese people think that you know in India, if you can be a beggar, kind of like you don't cook, you just go out for asking for the alms route. That's like a beggar. Okay. So Indian people will think you are really very good because you could, become this kind of life just for religious reason. You give up everything, give up your everything, and then you just begging the food. But in Chinese culture, especially you have to be when there's a you could say a learn movement introduced to a new country like in China. I think it's America the same. So. Especially from the beginning, there's no way you can be begging the food because people think that you are lazy, right? And even nowadays, actually, I still heard people saying that, why doing meditation is lazy? Why? Because people don't see how important to correct your mind. Then you really wanted to do things that maybe you can be for example, you can be a president, but you can be very evil. Nobody care about that mind anymore. If you are power, fine, you're good, right? But they don't see how important actually you need to correct your mind. But anyway, that's so difficult for people to see. I'm saying this so in China basically because of that one reason, so like Bai Zhan Cangui, right? That's why he actually started to have this kind of new rule for the monks that so kind of things that you need to cultivate by yourself. And also don't forget, in China, in those days still is most of people are farmers, agricultural, and that including lots of monks. They definitely know how to farming, So maybe it's something they interest to. I mean, I added anyway. So like people like to plant a thing and they think that they grow them thing, they would have the ripen, they could get the fruit by their own hands. They feel very happy. Anyway, many reasons. So then they abandoned this kind of system so that they thought I need to work for myself so that I earn for myself. Actually, if you in a strict rule, it's still not necessarily go with the original understand like what the Buddha wished. If you want to talk about restriction of Vinaya. Because in the restriction of Vinaya, so as here mentioned, this is not, he added, actually this is definitely, those who study Vinaya know very well. A monk definitely has to be live the family life. He has purpose. Why do you have to live a family life? Because it's very clear you have a family, you don't mix up your life. You have to really look after your family, right? So right, that's your priority. That's why you have family life. And then, but when you don't want to have family life, your focus is on the other thing, right? Completely on the spirituality, right? The second, very clearly as I just mentioned, in the Vinaya is that you definitely don't think that I can support myself. You definitely have to find a way that make the people have the merit for you. Let them to be growing their merit, because your practice is not on for your own purpose also. It's the purpose of people having a good chance. One day, because in Buddhist ideology, people, if they can attain the Nibbana, like Arahant, or become a Buddha, that is the highest one, right? So you still must give the chance for them to grow up this kind of marriage, even not this life, but that will help them for their future life like that. So
the Vinaya itself is the same, but it's adapted.
How you take it?
Interpreted
Yeah.
differently.
No, they didn't interpret differently. How you take it.
Okay.
So
How strict
you're with that. Yeah.
I was thinking, would that be the Buddha set the rule? Say, basically, there's the people who become the sangha or the lay people that support them. I think it's part of the social culture situation in India at that time to offer or to support
the spiritual, the wanderers. Yeah.
It's a part of the culture.
That you could say so. That's the reason why first in this book also put it that don't forget, but Buddhism came from that kind of environment. But depends on how you argue about that too, because according to the legend, or you could say this, the record about why the Buddha, when he was in the Tushita heaven, right, and then he was observing whether this is a good place to be born there. Okay, he had to observe that if he born in the wrong place, of course, then that. Buddhism do not believe in I power, I can change everything. So you have to be conditioned by the environment too. But if the environment is not allow you to do that, even how powerful you are, you become kind of useless. You cannot use your power. So and one of the things you observe is because they have this system, the system of supporting people who are really go for spirituality. They don't have to worry about their food and lodging. They can only just focus on their practices, or you could say on that. But I think if he were born in some other place, like, I don't know, of course, in those days, maybe in Africa or other places, or in Europe, no way, perhaps he could not achieve that, because that society that would not allow them to do so. I believe that very much. Always people ask me, could you find Arahant in America? I always say, no way. Because American society is really, really about everything about money. Of course, you can be sent in America, like stream enter, maybe once returner, even non-returner, I don't know. But it's very hard for me to imagine that someone who was born here and living exactly as American culture way of it then become Arahant. It's very, very hard because I know it's. I mean, if you go out to beginner, for people think, oh, what is you don't. Yeah.
That's why in China they need to be self-sufficient because.
Yeah, I mean.
The social condition.
I mean, that's good that you discuss this because if you are in China, I don't think they will agree what I'm saying. But you've been living in America, you live in certain country, you can see the environment definitely will provide certain thing, and some environment provide you a certain thing that maybe you like it, I mean, for example, in American, but then not necessarily they provide every facility too, but like, I know, I'm saying, so, yeah.